Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Liberals know all too well that whoever controls the minds of our children controls the future. Whoever controls education controls the future. We're going to talk about this today on Faith and Freedom. Hi, I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action, and joining me again today in studio is Cynthia Dunbar, Special Counsel with Liberty Counsel and Liberty Counsel's resident expert on issues pertaining to education. Cynthia, quickly, a little background on your experience dealing with educational issues with historical revisionism, which the left is always pushing, particularly as it pertains to textbooks.
Well, it's interesting that you said revisionism, because they will only use the term revision when they're talking about the conservatives moving us back to accurate history. When they're launching a whole new assault on changing our history, it's never revision, it's just accurate educational truth. So we see the spin that takes place. My history is that I got involved as an elected member of the Texas State Board of Education. And at the time that I got elected, I had no idea the influence, the impact that educational issues have on basically everything. It's the famous quote that's credited to Abraham Lincoln of that the philosophy in the schoolroom in one generation becomes the philosophy of the government in the next, which is so true. And so the liberals have understood for a long, long time the need to re-educate, retrain, secularize our society in order to move us away from our Judeo-Christian heritage as a nation. When I got elected, we have 15 elected board members. We each have about 1.5 million constituents. But it's broader than that, because historically, as goes Texas, the mantra was, so goes the nation. What has changed now, of course, is with Common Core curriculum being adopted by the majority of states, that will now shift to being controlled through the Department of Education.
Now, what is Common Core curriculum?
Common Core curriculum is something that's being put out. The Department of Education, Arne Duncan was very involved in this, and the Obama administration really pushed for it. And it's to push for a Common Core nationally. There were actually financial incentives given to the states, kind of the race to the top type thing, holding the carrot out to the states as though federal dollars is some kind of magic pot of gold that exists. It doesn't come out of the taxpayers' dollars pockets in the first place. But anyway, they would give incentives to sign on, and whoever signed on earlier got more money. And so most of the states rushed to that. And it's supposed to be providing some kind of standardized, homogenized education. They said only for English language arts and math. What we found reading through it is that it covers about 85% of the instruction time that a student's in their seat. So basically, it's now the federal government, unconstitutionally, as we know, education is not within our document of enumerated powers, taking control of education, not only leaving it no longer at the local level, but even removing it from the hands of the state.
So effectively, yeah, they're pulling the parents out of the picture, pulling the municipal government out of the picture, the local school boards and so forth, and saying, nope, you're going to all march to our specifically designated propagandist left-wing talking points, and we'll call that core curriculum education. Now, its tentacles are reaching everywhere. We were talking off camera and off radio here a moment ago about Tennessee. What's happening in Tennessee right now, and you're going to be going there to deal with this issue. What's going on?
Well, in Tennessee, and this is nothing new because these issues happen all over the nation, but right now in Tennessee, they're dealing with a particular textbook, several different textbook issues, but one parent started becoming aware of what was going on and actually looking in their children's textbooks and finding out that there was a history social studies textbook that was decidedly decidedly pro-Islamic, and not only pro-Islamic, but anti-Semitic, anti-Christian in terms of its presentation of religious history. And so she has complained. She's been rebuffed at every level. The local district saying we don't really have any control, that comes from the state, which is not exactly true. Most districts locally have some control as to their textbook selection. It's just how and when they will be reimbursed from the state coffers. But then it moves on up to the state adoption process and all of that, and everyone passing the buck. And the bottom line is the parents are left out in the cold, being told there's really nothing you can do. And so they're left with the option of doing, just like with the Boy Scouts, a mass exodus of saying we will not give up control and allow our children to be indoctrinated by what is the common viewpoint that's acceptable from whether it's a state curriculum or now what will be federal through Common Core curriculum.
Cynthia, you were while in Texas, while on the Board of Education there, you were enemy number one. As I know that you still, to this day, receive death threats and get called every name under the book, as do I. Tell us a little bit about the absolutely visceral, hostile, even violent reaction that you got from leftists when you started trying to actually implement and frame our textbooks and get back to our actual history instead of this secular socialist propaganda that the left wing is pushing through the textbooks.
Well, it was really interesting and very eye-opening for me in the sense that I was doing just what I thought was normal course, what I was elected to do as far as making sure that the best content was in the textbook. So we were requiring things. Some of my motions were that they would actually read the Federalist Papers, that they would actually read and study the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And to that end, I believe one of the motions I had was that they would know from the Declaration self-evident truths, unalienable rights, and the laws of nature, nature's God. I actually got emails from even some college history professors saying, stop injecting your religious ideology into our children's textbooks, which was actually enjoyable to be able to respond and say, please read the Declaration of Independence and write me back, because those were not my words. Of course, those were Thomas Jefferson's words. But as I started getting the death threats and different things, I realized this is a sum-zero game, and this is where it really all culminates. Whether we're dealing with abortion rights issues, whether the pro-choice movement is advocating instead of pro-life, whether we're dealing with homosexual marriage issues, if we lose the war for the heart and soul of our children, if they are effectively indoctrinated in these ideologies, these progressive ideologies, if our history is rewritten and children don't know who we are as Americans, then we subsequently lose every other battle. And that was why there was so much vitriol and hate and animus when I was just sticking, the camel sticking the nose under the tent of saying, we're going to put forth a little bit of truth and accuracy and accountability here. So it is a really violent war.
Well, that's because the left, as I've often said, thrives. They can only exist and push their agenda through deception. And in addition to that, and part of that deception is dumbing down our education, right, dumbing down the populace, indoctrinating the populace, reprogramming and re-educating the populace. And in so doing, that's the only explanation. Why else would they say we don't want kids reading the Constitution? We don't want kids reading the Federalist Papers. We don't want kids really understanding that it was biblical principles. Look at the writings of the Founding Fathers, right, reading the writings of the Founding Fathers. So quickly, we just got a little bit of time left. What can parents do to fight back here quickly?
Well, first of all, I think parents need to regain control and understand that they are responsible before the Lord for the training and rearing of their children. I mean, that is something that they can delegate, but they cannot ever assign that responsibility. And then I think that they need to start looking at their children's textbooks. I mean, one of the things we're dealing with now in Texas is an issue called C-Scope that's an electronic textbook. Well, the parents don't even have access to it. So once you start seeing an area where you're not even given access, that should be a huge red light to the parents. And then I think that they ultimately need to be willing to do whatever they need to do. If that means removing their children from the public schools if that means taking on the responsibility to pay the private tuition to a Christian school or homeschool your children. The well-being of your children's minds ultimately, not only now but for eternity, is a much higher benefit. It is not worth sacrificing them on the altar of these educational policies that are very, very staunchly trying to take over the minds of our children.
Well, thanks, Cynthia, for all that you're doing here. Folks, check out your kids' textbooks. Email us at liberty@lc.org if you find anything there that jumps out, or you can contact us at 1-800-671-1776. Go to our website, lc.org. Contact information is available there as well. Stand with us as we stand in defense of truth and education.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.